A 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to talk about today 4 little laws and policies that do hold sway over what we teach, because that's what the government does say. And the great inequity does rule in our schools, at least in our schools. Oh yeah. Great! I will sing you the original song from Schoolhouse Rock in the credits. Now, here we go! Hello everyone! Welcome to my video. As you heard from my title song, I'm talking about 4 laws and/or policies currently in play that affect teachers, schools, students, etc. The 4 in particular that I have chosen are interesting because if you think about it, they deal with basic human rights. I'm starting us off with the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which is coupled with the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. This act is most famous for giving everyone in the United States, regardless of race or color, equal eligibility for employment. As is very well known, the United States participated in the slave trade for several hundred years, culminating in the Civil War, which ultimately won legal freedom for all slaves. Unfortunately, legality does not always change people's minds, so further laws had to be enacted in order for African Americans and everyone else of ethnicities other than white to possess full human rights. What I don't think people realize, at least I wasn't aware that this was so, is that according to the National Archives website, not only do these acts prohibit discrimination based on race or color, but they also prohibit discrimination based on other basic human rights, i.e. religion, gender, national origin, that sort of thing, which I see as opening the door to the other acts soon to be discussed in this video. Education falls under Title VI of the Civil Rights Act, and as you can see here, it's interesting that people cannot be discriminated against under any program or activity receiving federal financial assistance, which includes school. Personally, I think it's funny that they justify this based on federal financial assistance, because that means that if the program is not funded by the feds, then discrimination is technically okay under law. At least, that's how it reads to me. If anybody would like to comment on that and set me straight, please do, because I thought that was kind of funny, you know? It seemed like there was some sort of loophole there for someone to exploit. Speaking from my own experience, the only current controversy surrounding these acts stems from blatant racism, as well as crying racism in order to get money from a lawsuit. Honestly, as long as there is hatred and bigotry in this world, there will always be someone who exploits good laws for bad purposes. This leads us now to Title IX. So apparently, between 1964 and 1972, though the law said that everyone be given an equal opportunity for education, this did not ensure equal education. According to the official Title IX website, traditional education before and up to the creation of this law was very masculine, that is, geared more toward male achievement in the sciences and female achievement in the humanities, gender stereotypical roles, that is. In light of this, the proponents of Title IX sought to give everyone, regardless of gender, the equal opportunity to participate in all forms of education, providing a holistic experience for all. For example, according to the website, Title IX is most famous for encouraging female athletics, which, I can tell you, was resisted for quite some time here in the USA. Currently, proponents of Title IX are battling test inequality between the genders, as you can see here from the slide I have pulled up. Despite Title IX requirements, most standardized tests continue to show gender gaps and underpredict the abilities of females. There are gender differences in math and science, and fewer females than males receive valuable awards. All definite problems. Title IX proponents have also found single-sex classrooms a problem, as gender stereotypes are still allowed there to some degree. It's an inclusive environment, so it's a lot easier to sort of fall back into old habits. We move on now to Rights for the Disabled, i.e. the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, or IDEA for short. I really like that, that's clever. Following on the heels of Title IX, this act made its debut in 1975 as the Education for All Handicapped Children Act. After numerous changes, it became IDEA in 1990 and was renovated once again in 2004. Like the Civil Rights Act of 1964, federal funding makes free appropriate public education, or FAPE, available for all disabled students in America and her territories. Under this act, parents of disabled children are allowed to file for certain free services, which includes an individualized education program, or IEP, a specially tailored program to help their individual students succeed in school. Now, I have a cousin named Nicole, Nikki for short, who has Down syndrome. These pictures aren't exactly of her, but they look a lot like her, surprisingly. While I don't really know what her educative experience has been like, I imagine that her parents have taken advantage of some of these provisions under IDEA, in particular the tutoring aspect. She's had private tutoring for many years, which has helped her to keep up with the rest of her class. Lately, though, I've noticed that she's hit some plateaus in her work, so I'm thinking her parents will soon be looking down some other avenues to further their daughter's education. And now it's time for the big one, No Child Left Behind. This, I believe, is the only act out of these four to have failed, but more on that later. The No Child Left Behind Act of 2001 provides struggling schools with federal funding, and at the same time, provides parents with options to further their child's education. If their child is currently enrolled in an underperforming school, parents can transfer their child to a better school or sign up for special federally funded programs to give them the edge they need to succeed, despite being stuck at a poor school. Schools are monitored through standardized testing and mandatory reports. Should schools fail to improve, or at least stay within a comfortable scoring range, the government will take them over. That sounds like a fair deal, doesn't it? Sadly, from what I've read, No Child Left Behind needs a lot of improvement to actually work. According to Diane Ravitch, author of The Death and Life of the Great American School System, No Child Left Behind has created a quote-unquote toxic culture of testing in our schools. Since No Child Left Behind stresses testing to the tests, i.e., focusing on math and reading, teaching to the tests, all other subjects are left to languish. Ravitch notes that when teachers focus on test-taking, students only learn test-taking. Learning for the sake of knowledge and true enrichment is not present. Further, this year was apparently the deadline for all students to be proficient in reading and math, quote-unquote, which Ravitch saw as a ticking time bomb, soon to explode and take with it public education as we know it. Thankfully, that has not been the case. According to the White House's official site, and here I quote, "Although No Child Left Behind started a national conversation about student achievement, unintended consequences of No Child Left Behind have reinforced the wrong behaviors in attempting to strengthen public education. No Child Left Behind has created incentives for states to lower their standards, emphasized punishing failure over rewarding success, focused on absolute scores rather than recognizing growth and progress, and prescribed a pass-fail, one-size-fits-all series of interventions for schools that miss their goals. The White House plans on extending the waivers, quote-unquote, which schools have been using to buy themselves time to try to improve test scores, as well as reversing this testing culture that has been so heavily integrated into schools, but as far as I can tell, nothing much has changed so far. Since I'm not a teacher yet, I haven't experienced this in my classroom, but I have experienced it as a student. I passed high school by binging on information and then purging it on the test. Honestly, school felt like prison to me. I was locked up with teachers who didn't always care and students who definitely didn't care, shuffled from class to class like something on an assembly line, being gradually put together before the great school factory shot me out with a diploma. I didn't have time to really go in depth with things I really cared about, or about things I might have cared about, had it just been taught, and not taught for a test. I learned how to take tests very well, but honestly, if I could have done it all over again, I would have paid a lot more attention to what they were talking about and less on the tests, because really the focus in life isn't on grades, it's on learning, and I want to impart that to my students. Researching these 4 laws has made me deeply consider my future teaching goals. How can I help every child learn without holding them back? How do I fulfill the goals set for me by my school system and the government while still being true to what I believe to be the best educative methods? How do I, as a teacher, give everyone a chance. I hope this video also sparked questions for you, my viewer. Well, that's all the time we have, folks. Thanks for watching! Took a ferry to the Statue of Liberty. My best friend was waiting there for me. He took an early ferry, we went for a walk on the island, you know, and in the middle of summer it started to snow when I took a ferry on the Statue of Liberty. Well, every person you can know, like my friend or the captain, in every place that you can go, like an island or ferry, and anything that you can show, like a boat or a statue, you know their nouns. You know their nouns. Oh, yes. Thank you, Schoolhouse Rock!